Today on Locked On Rockies, oof, that wasn't fun.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 19th day of August in the year 2022. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Why? Well, because I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire, covering this team for a couple years and talking with you, the lovely Rockies fans, about this baseball team. I think is really where we're going to put it, because as we're going to talk about today on the show, hope or general good feelings and everything about the Rockies are kind of in the toilet as of right now. Things are bleak, to put it mildly, for the Colorado Rockies. And it's a firm example of now we're going to see what this front office really has and what they can truly say is this team. And we already can get our ideas set on what the offseason is going to look like in terms of excuses from the front office. But before we dive into that, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So yesterday was my birthday, and I actually was gearing up, getting ready, and I had some other stuff I had planned and was getting ready to figure out the schedule, see what was going to go on for the day. And, Daily Rockies podcast, we got to do that. But I got to a point yesterday. It was about the third inning of yesterday's game where I decided I'm going to take my birthday off. I simply have no desire to speak about this team. I'm going to use the birthday excuse. I didn't, very rarely can you pull me fully away from the Rockies, good, bad, ugly, anything like that. But this series, this game against that team who has a player of very high caliber that used to play for this team, I got to a point yesterday where I simply said, enough. And I walked away. It's not me. It's me. I walked away from my job. I walked away from responsibility of doing this. So I let the fans down. But devoting my time to watch the Rockies play baseball the way that they have played baseball since the All-Star break, and especially yesterday and in this series, doesn't feel like an enjoyable use of my time. It doesn't feel like I am being respected as a Rockies fan, a true, honest-to-God Rockies fan. I mean, I don't own all this stuff. I don't talk about the Rockies. I don't watch all these games for nothing. I genuinely care a great deal about this team. But to go out and see performances like we've seen from the Rockies since the All-Star break is nothing short of disappointing and sometimes a little embarrassing for me. Sometimes it's a little embarrassing how much I talk about the Rockies or focus on the Rockies or care about the Rockies when the organization itself hasn't demonstrated a lot of care for the fan like me. The baseball fan, that's a different story. But the true Rockies fan. And now we're in a situation where this depleted rotation is going to have to rely on someone who do you have more confidence in Senza or any of the other possible replacements? Gomber's going to have to step up and he's going to have to come back. Sure, so you got Gomber, but again, this team decided to make no moves at the deadline, decided to do nothing, has said that and believes what they have is enough. Well, it's not. And it's so tiring to go through and just see these stats of the Rockies being terrible on the road, being terrible against good teams in their home ballpark. The Rockies' record against the Cardinals in St. Louis is a flat-out joke. It's flat-out embarrassing. And then when you think about it in the optics of everything this year and the past couple years, it's just the Rockies have rolled over for a team like St. Louis. Oh, we got the car. Come on in, St. Louis. We got to make sure that everyone knows that we're celebrating Yachty and Albert Pujols, two players of the game that have so many things, so much of an impact at Coors Field. And guess what? We're just going to roll over and just get absolutely shellacked when we play you, anytime we play you in St. Louis. Oh, and we'll trade you our Hall of Famer, too. It's disheartening. I don't want to go through. There are bad days on the diamond, yes, and bad days happen. But yesterday was just one of those days when you just hit me when I thought of everything that we've been told by Rockies management, by Rockies organization, about how this team is built well, how this team's a competitor, how this team's got a playoff rotation, blah, 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 blah. Dominated by a playoff team. Can't play on the road and are on pace to win less than 70 games. The Rockies should have won 70 games as a slam dunk. But the Rockies are now on pace to finish with 69 wins this season. And Thomas Ashley here in the chat, all my friends say, how can you watch this team every day? And I asked myself that. I do wonder, if I was not the host of this show, how much Rockies baseball I would be watching this year. I care about the team. I care about the pod. I care about covering. But I do wonder, if I wasn't the host, I think I could safely say that if I was not running this podcast, if I was not the host of this podcast, this would be the least interested I would have been in a Rockies baseball season, potentially all time. Because what is the point? What is the point of being a Rockies fan right now? And I don't, maybe it's this is bad business for me, but truly, what is the point? Every other team made one trade at least. Every other team made an attempt to change up and move their franchise in a different direction. Every other team hires from outside of their organization. Every other team has dove into the 21st century world of baseball. Not every other team have created a beautiful ballpark experience to bring everyone in. And when you just watch outfielders crash into the wall, when you watch the Rockies give up a pinch hit grand slam to Albert Pujols, what is the point? I hope that there is an answer from the front office, because we already know what this offseason they're going to say. Hey, Chris Bryant, when he played, Rockies were playing 500 ball. Chris Bryant's going to have like 40 games played total this entire season. You're going to trot out some of these lineups. You're going to have to trot out some of this lack of depth and say that this is a competitive team against the NL freaking West, against the Dodgers. The Rockies still have to play the Dodgers more this year. And I'm tired of being treated like an idiot by the Rockies front office. I'm tired of it being a slap in the face to root for this team. And I'm tired of it being a slap in the face for, honest to God, real Rockies fans. I want it to be more upbeat. I want it to be bright, but I literally skipped a day of my job yesterday just because the idea of talking about this team when they're run like this, when they're playing like this, And when you're told all this crap, I left and I said, what's the point? And I wonder how many of you Rockies fans are asking the same exact thing. Trying not to be a downer, but hard not to be. Honestly, it's really hard not to be. We'll look at some positive stuff. We got some stuff that we'll talk about here. I want to share some stuff from Renee Deckhart there and what she was looking at here. But remember, this is what Bill Schmidt said to the Rockies media and Rockies fan. I believe in the club. We haven't performed to our expectations, but we are continuing to grow in a lot of areas, and I think the future is bright. I don't even have the steam to dive into that boilerplate same thing that we've heard a million times, but let's dive into the live chat, see what y'all have to say. And again, we're going to see, I got some stuff from Renee Deckhart that I want to talk about as well. But before we do that, did you know the key to sustainable weight loss is through your liver? The liver is the body's metabolic furnace. It's responsible for flushing out harmful toxins and igniting your fat-burning metabolism. But thanks to modern diets rich in unhealthy processed foods and constant exposure to thousands of man-made environmental toxins, most of us have overworked livers. But now it's easy to rejuvenate your liver and reignite your metabolism thanks to Liver Health Formula by PureHealth Research. Liver Health Formula contains 8 liver-boosting super nutrients like turmeric, beet, and artichoke extract, all of which work together to wake up a sluggish liver and turn it into a toxin-flushing and fat-burning machine. And best of all, Liver Health Formula makes it easier to maintain a healthy body weight long-term. As a listener of our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today and get a free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Curb Fit is a safe, all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. This makes it the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. Go to liverhealth.com/MLB to learn more. Again, that's getliverhealth.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely free. Go to liverhealth.com/MLB to get started. At Rock's Hot Take says, I've been a mini plan holder for a couple years. Without changes this offseason, I may not get another plan for 2023. I've also heard from another longtime season ticket holder, friend of mine. They're thinking about going down even further with their split package with people and paying even less to go to less games. Just have a couple to go because, again, no matter what we want to say, we can't deny the fact that Coors Field is a great experience to go catch a ball game. And Ken Goldman in the chat says, he seemed to have company, Paul, 3 viewers to this live stream. We got a few. We got some diehards here. We got lots of great Rockies fans here. And that's what I'm saying. That's what's so frustrating about all of this. There are a lot of people that care about the Rockies. There are a lot of them. You might not see them. You might not always know. You might not think about Rockies fans. There was someone tweeted, I think they were saying that some lady in St. Louis didn't even recognize the Rockies jersey he was wearing, the David Dahl Rockies jersey he was wearing. And it's saying it's a Yankees or a White Sox. I mean, big picture, sure. But man, there are a ton of people that care so much about this team. They want good baseball, not just a place to go drink a beer with the family and enjoy Denver. There's a lot of other ways you can enjoy Denver other than Colorado or Coors Field. There's a lot of ways to enjoy the Colorado weather and summers in Colorado than just sitting there watching your team get their butts whipped. So that's what, I mean, I really do want to know. And I wish that I could ask some of these questions, but I mean, I know how hard it is, but it's like, I do want to know what it's like for them to hear, let's go Dodgers, let's go Giants, all these chants break out at Coors Field and at home. Does it actually mean anything to them? Because as they'd say to the media, but deep down, it is solely just business to Dick Monfort and what he does and his part and he's found a beautiful little vein in the world of owning a sports team. He owns a bad sports team that gets a ton of attendance, that also has a deal from the city and also has enough wealth and influence there that he can put a giant apartment, whatever complex. That doesn't have anything to do with the Rockies, even though the Rockies promote it heavily and it's got Rocky stuff promoted all over it. Named after the former president of the Rockies. That's Dick Monfort's focus. Dick Monfort's focus for the Colorado Rockies is to get as many people through that turnstile as possible. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, folks, let's be honest. The Pujols Molina thing was a total, hey, St. Louis, come on down. Come on down. Hey, everyone that's moved from St. Louis and Denver, bust out the red. Come on down. It's a home game for you. It's a home series for you. But every time that ticket's sold, doesn't matter to Dick if that person comes in wearing a Rockies fan or any other jersey. The Rockies have had an overwhelming positive or favor of Rockies fans in the stands at home games in a handful of series. The Diamondbacks, the Pirates, the Reds, and the Nationals probably. There's more Rockies fans. But I would argue that during division games, other than the Diamondbacks, it's more out-of-town fans. And that makes the money that Dick Monfort's happy with. Because this team makes money. This team can spend money. Look how much they gave to Chris Bryant. Remember, if the Rockies could have gotten Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos for less money than they paid Chris Bryant. The Rockies were able to get a deal for Nolan long term. The Rockies were able to sign and spend a bunch of money on extensions this year. For the Rockies to sit there and tell us they're not financially this, it's small market, it's market this, it's the same BS we've been fed over and over again. And this is the same podcast I've done over and over again. Because every time series like this one in St. Louis happen, it's just a stark, harsh reminder about the priorities of the front office of the Colorado Rockies. I have more beef with the front office and the organizational structure with the Rockies than I do the players. I believe that there are fine, good, solid pieces of this Rockies team that can definitely contribute to a winning club. I think there are good players on here, and that includes some of the pitchers. Might not be great, but there are plenty of good and possibly, again, elite players. But I'm tired of the future always being bright. When I was told the future was bright, then you know what it was finally showing me? It was showing me an infield of Arenado, Story, and LeMahieu. That's what it showed me, with a road pitching staff that was pitching well. But instead, you wanted to veer to some other future to tell us about some other thing, and they shut the window down on a future that they build up to us in all of the years since 2009, the last time the Rockies were in the playoffs. So for 9 years, we went and we watched crappy Rockies teams with random combinations of players hoping for a future, and then it paid off. But that future wasn't good enough for Jeff Bridich, and then he changes the future and then leaves. It's tough to play a full 162 when a season like this. And I think the Rockies players are incredibly frustrated, because I do think that this team has underperformed, but not underperformed in the fact that, that it's just been this or that. No, this was a team that was a long shot to be for the third wild card. Everything had to go perfect for the Rockies this year, and far from it. It is gone for the Rockies. Let's dive into the big news here. At least we didn't talk about it too much here. I went on the soapbox as I often do when I get started about that front office. But before we dive into some of the big news throughout the Rockies here, betonline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today at betonline.net. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. At Hot Rocks Takes says 2009, you mean 2018. I was referencing that window between those two, between 2009 and 2018 when they made the playoffs, or was it 17? Was because it wasn't at 17, 18 back-to-back playoff years. 19 they underperformed. 20 was the pandemic. I think is how it was. I was more talking about that near decade between playoff appearances. How we did hear about future, we heard about this, we heard about that, blah 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 blah. We're looking ahead to the future a lot. Because around in that era, when was let's see here, Tulo trade. The Rockies traded Tulo in 2015. So they decided to build for the future, which happened to they moving on from Tulo, going through with that. Still had some interesting teams there. You're right, but now. We kind of got to see it when they moved on from two. I mean, there was this fresh crop of players has to really. Montero has been awesome. We'll see what happens with some of these young guys if the future is as bright as they say. But the problem with always looking for the future was the present was pretty darn bright too for the Rockies there. The present isn't very bright for the Rockies now. Antonio Senzatella is getting an MRI today, and it looked pretty serious there. It's an IL stint without a doubt for Senza. There's no way that is not going to be an IL stint for him. Looks like we're going to have to get Gomber. The depth of the Rockies is going to be tested greatly here over the last part of the season. And even when you think about some of the injuries they've had, I did see some reporting that the Rockies are actually one of the more relatively healthy teams this year, even with the Chris Bryant injuries. But in terms of actual roster availability throughout the year, the Rockies have been one of the better teams. But losing Senza is going to be tough. It's going to, again, put strain on this Rockies rotation, which is now it shortens the depth and shortens the abilities of the bullpen as well. Some of the good news, though, at least to some stuff from Bud Black there, is that it sounds like Chuck is going to be okay. Because, Charlie Blackmon, if the Rockies lose Charlie Blackmon, they are going to they are just going to be missing one of their best offensive pieces this year. It seemed, but Bud Black was saying he thinks Charlie's going to be okay. Haven't seen too much on him it being something major or anything of that nature. So 2 real big injuries for the Rockies. It's going to be tough. Back at home for the Rockies. We didn't get to what I was going to talk about from Renee, and we'll save that for next week here. But folks, let's get into the weekend. Let's get ready for some Rockies baseball tonight. The Rockies taking on the Giants here at home. The 59-59 San Francisco Giants taking on the 51-69 Colorado Rockies. Wow, man, that is just. It's like, how do they have so many? The games don't seem. And then I was like, oh wait, yeah, no, that's just because they have a bunch more wins. That's how it ends up going like that. And let's see, it is Urania taking on Wood here for the Rockies. Giants haven't been great, so we'll see if what happens for the Rocks here in this one. But folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Big crowd in the live audience today, so thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you're staying up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and the Locked On Nuggets podcasts. And you can also stay up to date with all things Major League Baseball with the Locked On MLB podcast. And you can also follow the show at LO Rockies on Twitter. You can follow me at Paul Holden 33. You can also subscribe on YouTube and be part of the live show just like Ken, Rock's Hot Takes, and Thomas Ashley was today. And until next time, folks, I'm Paul Holden saying so long.